Taitawamani. Taitainti.
They come here every year to give thanks, to offer gifts, and to ask for favors.
Pachamama.
It's the Andean New Year, and the focus of these Peruvians' reverence is a mountain and its glacier.
Hatunwamani.
That mountain is Huaytapallana, located near the city of Huancayo, a booming regional hub about 120 miles east of Lima, the capital of Peru. This year, the ongoing retreat of the mountain's glacier is forcing these pilgrims to reassess their relationship not just with the mountain, but also with the world around them. The glacier has lost about half its size in recent decades, a phenomenon that scientists attribute to climate change. The nearly 400,000 Peruvians who live here in Huancayo depend on the glacier for life-sustaining water during spring and summer melting seasons. Its diminishing size, then, is a cause for deep concern. Swedish anthropologist Karsten Paragard has studied Peru for the past 35 years. He's back here to examine how Huaytapallana's receding glacier affects Peruvians' cosmovision, or their spiritual relationship with nature and their understanding of their place in it.
I'm an anthropologist, and my job is to figure out what goes on in the minds of people. So what I do, I listen to when they talk about what they find important for their lives. And here it's about climate change, it's about the melting glaciers and Huaytapallana. So I'm trying to figure out how do they make sense of a climate that is changing and that has huge impacts or very important implications for their future lives. Global climate change is a challenge for all religions and all forms of belief.
Karsten and I are on assignment for American University's Center for Latin American and Latino Studies, which is conducting research on the intersection of religion and climate change. Carlos Condor is a Peruvian anthropologist at the National University of Central Peru. He's Karsten's longtime friend and colleague. This is a crucial juncture in our story. It's where the ice melt from the Huaytapallana Glacier rolls down the mountain in the Chulcas River. From here, the water is funneled to the city of Huancayo.
We're seeing the exact spot where Huancayo's drinking water supply begins. This is where the takeoff. This is where they take water from the river Chulcas into the whole chain, the system of infrastructure. This is where the infrastructure begins.
Depending on the season,
50% of Huancayo's water supply comes from here.
But demand for water only increases. These men work on a fish farm that diverts thousands of gallons of water each day from the Chulcas River to their industry. Conventional farming, mining, population growth, they all draw water from the same source. By the time the water gets to these women on the outskirts of Huancayo, the flow has diminished dramatically. How then do changes in the glacier's size impact the Andean cosmovision, or the collective religious beliefs and ritual practices relating to the natural world? Are they seen as natural phenomena, or as a call to action to fight climate change? To get some answers, we stopped in to see Pedro Marticorena. Remember him? The man calling out in Quechua during the ceremony on the mountain? Pedro is called a Laya Mayor, or traditional ritual practitioner of the Andean community. He's influential in shaping the religious response to climate change at Huaytapallana. It was Pedro who, in 1994, institutionalized the Andean New Year ritual on the mountain. Karsten, Carlos, and I visited Pedro at his Wali Huasi Museum in Huancayo. Pedro embodies the revitalization of traditional Andean culture and the embrace of Andean heritage, a key cultural tool for the response to glacial melt and climate change in Peru. We all joined in the chewing of coca leaves, a traditional feature of Andean rituals. Pedro called climate change a natural thing, a change of seasons. In other words, the Andean notion of the cycles of history, of death, and of renewal of the world.
Eso es una cosa natural, el cambio climático.
Entonces, en la cosmovisión andina, el tema de cambio climático no hay que preocuparse.
No es de preocupación, no es de alarma, no es de sensacionalismo, no es para hacer grandes millonadas de presupuestos, de congresos.
Si por la falta de agua, por el hielo que desaparece, y si Huancayo algún día va a faltar agua, ¿es un tema de preocuparse?
No, tampoco. Tampoco es de preocupación. Porque cuando te preocupas, te absorbe ese espacio de la preocupación y no vives.
Layas like Pedro are not the only spiritual actors on the scene here. Religious belief and practice in the Andes is a rich blend of Catholic dogma and indigenous cosmological ideas. And the two are inseparable. I visited this public school, run by the Franciscans, to attend this priest's presentation to young students. He talked about Pope Francis's recent encyclical on the environment and climate change and the importance of people's relationship with the natural world.
Esta encíclica es una respuesta a lo que está pasando en el mundo. ¿Qué dice ahí, ven?
Destruimos la creación nos destruirá a nosotros. Nunca lo olviden.
El calentamiento global, ¿por qué se da? Por contaminación. ¿Y la contaminación quién lo genera? Nosotros. Entonces el Papa nos dice, ustedes niñas, ustedes niños ustedes son el futuro. Si ustedes no toman conciencia ahorita de lo que está pasando, en el futuro no vamos a poder hacer nada.
The Catholic Church also spreads the word of Pope Francis via this radio outlet.
Las fuentes de agua dulce, veníamos hablando de Huaytapallana, por ejemplo, abastecen a sectores sanitarios, agropecuarios e industriales, pero ahora en muchos lugares la demanda supera a la oferta sostenible, con graves consecuencias a corto y largo término.
Today marks the Andean New Year, and hundreds of pilgrims are heading to Huaytapallana for the annual event. But this year is very different.
Las cosas que ustedes dejen acá lo van a dejar rotulado y en la caseta se lo va a devolver a la hora que ustedes están retornando. Por favor, ahorita va a revisar la señorita, por favor, señorita, ¿ya? Abra tu maletera, por favor.
We are in the community of Acopalca, which is the last community before we reach Huaytapallana. So this is where the regional government has set up its control post. So what they're doing, they're working together with the community. They called in the national ecological police for help. They're asking everybody to get out of their cars. They want to see what they got in their bags. What other kind of items pollute the environment of Huaytapallana. So you can clearly see that the regional government has taken steps to enforce their control of what people are bringing up to the mountain. The idea is to limit the contamination, the pollution of Huaytapallana. Muy bien, me parece muy bien.
Esa caja se queda.
Así los jóvenes,
esa caja de cerveza se va.
Nosotros ya podemos dejar el futuro, los jóvenes, sabiendo que ellos son más conscientes que nosotros.
Estamos evitando el ingreso de todo tipo de material contaminante, como son vidrios, plásticos, ceras, al área de conservación regional. Materiales que son dejados en grandes cantidades.
¿Y esa persona ahí qué pasó con ellos?
Está llevando una caja de cerveza, es por eso que no se le deja ingresar, ya que de esa caja de cerveza todas las chapas son dejadas ahí en el área.
¿Lo van a quitar, la cerveza?
No, se les retiene, se les levanta un acta y cuando retornan se les devuelve.
Ya creo que le ha indicado el personal adecuado, no va a pasar el vehículo.
¿A qué van a ir?
Porque van a tener yo no le estoy faltando el respeto, no le estoy faltando el respeto, no le estoy faltando el respeto. Claro, estamos veniendo de punta. Claro, hay que saber respetar el área. Los dueños de esas ofrendas, nosotros ya tienen que bajarlo para revisar. No pasa nada de material contaminante, vidrio, plástico, ceras, no va a pasar al área.
Vanessa Mesa is an environmental engineer assigned by the regional government to protect the area from trash. In effect, the authorities are changing people's religious practices, and the pilgrims must reconcile with the impact of their traditional activities, like bringing cases of beer to the mountain.
Vanessa, parece que la gente se pone un poco molesto cuando...
Claro, hay personas que se incomodan, como hay personas que también comprenden este accionar, ya que este área de conservación se está contaminando a grande escala. Más de 6 toneladas de residuos sólidos hemos sacado en nuestra última campaña de limpieza. Y nosotros no somos limpiadores de nadie.
On the way to the glacier, I ran into Pedro, the Laya Mayor. I asked him, while gasping for air at 14,000 feet above sea level, what he thought about the day's event.
Hermano, ¿cómo ves? ¿Cuál es la diferencia este año en comparación con años anteriores?
Organizadamente estamos siendo mejor para no dejar las basuras, la contaminación, porque las anteriores era un poquito más caos.
And it was here, as I approached the majesty of Huaytapallana, that I began to understand the power and the complexity of the impact upon those who live in its shadow. Layas like Pedro, the Roman Catholic Church, government officials, all respond to the alarm that is the mountain's diminishing glacier. And these responses are fluid, in flux, and sometimes in tension with each other.
They're not going to allow us to go down to the... You've seen the lake down there, the glacier lake? We've always gone all the way to the glacier lake, to the foot of the glacier. Apparently the regional government is not allowing it this year. You see all the cars, they park here. We used to drive all the way down to the foot of the glacier. We're not allowed. So people are putting up their mesas here.
¿Qué piensa usted sobre el glaciar, el hielo? Porque cada año se retira, ¿no?
Si venimos con cuidado, hacemos como se debe hacer, vamos a conservar. Pero si venimos a maldad dejando botellas, todo, nosotros mismos vamos a empeorar.
Esta es una casita de un jarrito. Es el deseo para el año.
We just interviewed a family who were coming here every year. And this particular year, they always bring the same kind of stuff. Bread, sweets, candies, but apparently they're becoming more aware of the danger, the threat of contamination. So they're unpacking the sweets from the plastic emballage, so that they're keeping the plastic, and then they're throwing out these sweets in the air and leaving the rest of the stuff, which are other kind of sweets and bread, on the ground to the mountain. But what was most interesting that they also brought a little toy of a truck, and even the page, a printed page from the internet, where they found the truck they wanted with the price and the advertisement. So they brought that page, a printed page of that truck they wanted, the particular truck they wanted. So they brought it here. They're going to leave it because that's their desire this year, a new truck for the family, because these people are businessmen. So these people are they have deep trust in the mountain, they believe in the mountain, and by giving this present, this gift to the mountain and showing it respect, they hope that the mountain will give them in return a new truck for their business.
El Señor siempre nos va a bendecir a todos, en la salud, en todo, en el trabajo, en todo nos va a ayudar. Yo sé que esto va a ser para un bien para todos nosotros. Gracias, Señor.
For these pilgrims, the receding glacier on Huaytapallana has forced a renegotiation of their spiritual relationship with their environment.
Mama Killa, Kuyor Kuna, Huanca Kuna, Pachamama.
What that renegotiation ultimately will look like is not yet clear. What seems certain, however, is that their worldview will never be the same. This is Bill Gentile reporting.